Saquon Barkley had a charity football tournament this weekend on Sunday. A lot of people from the Giants were there. A lot of teammates showed up. And, of course, one of the things that's out there that Saquon Barkley is currently dealing with is the fact that he has not signed his franchise tag that the Giants placed on him at $10 million and change because he's trying to get a long-term deal done. And it felt like the Giants had a couple of choices here. I would have thought the move would have been give Saquon Barkley the contract extension, give him the 4-year deal, whatever it is that he's seeking, and come to terms on that. And then maybe you go Daniel Jones, you franchise him, and that's the direction they go. Well, Daniel Jones and the Giants got a deal done, but Saquon Barkley has not gotten his deal done. And so he's kind of hinted at the possibility that this could be a holdout situation. Now, July 17th is the deadline, so they've got a little bit over a month to try and get a deal done. But when you just look at the overall situation, obviously he's a little bit frustrated by not having the long-term deal done with the Giants. He has said as much. I want to be in New York. I want to retire a Giant. This is where I want to be. They know what it would take to get a deal done. They've had these conversations many times before, yet here we are. He still doesn't have his deal done. On top of that, you got Josh Jacobs, who's also yet to sign his franchise tag. He finds himself in a similar situation that Saquon Barkley does with the Raiders. And so you've got Josh Jacobs and you got Saquon Barkley. These are
two of the best in the game right now.
And coming off phenomenal years. Josh Jacobs was fantastic last year. Saquon Barkley really returned to form like he was early in his career. And it just goes back to the same old issue at that position, the devaluing of the running back position. And I know it's a case-by-case situation, but it does feel like we're at a point where teams are just looking at it going, we appreciate what you did. We can find somebody else that can do it similar to you. And if we've got the ability to throw a franchise tag on, or if we've got an ability to try and get another guy or do your fifth-year option and then go from there, that's where it feels like teams are headed.
That narrative has really taken off and has taken hold. I've never really seen it to this degree, to this capacity, especially with such a historically valued and coveted position. I mean, generally speaking, if you don't see a guy that's the quarterback win the Heisman in college, who is it that's winning it? Generally, it's probably a running back that's getting it. I mean, you'll see a receiver here and there, but it's usually a running back or a quarterback that wins the Heisman coming out of college, which means that college respects and covets those two positions the most because they deem that the best player in the sport, and they get that award. What the running back has represented to football since the beginning of time is a safe way of moving the ball. Like, that's what it represents. Like, and when you say a safe way, it's safe. It's supposed to be secure, and it's supposed to be what football is really about. Now, if Q were here on the show right now, he'd be like, hold on. And he would tell you something that would most likely be accurate in the sense that that's just not where the sport is. That does not sell tickets. We do know that where the NFL is, even where sports and anything, at every level is right now with football, is to score, and to score as many times as you possibly can, as quickly as you can, because that's what sells. So to me, to see how the game has continuously evolved and turned into a pass first, because you would never say pass first in years past. And I don't know how many years that is, but it's like almost since 7-on-7 culture became a true legitimate way of finding talent or identifying talent outside of regular high school football. The idea of it has turned into the development of quarterbacks and receivers has gone to a whole nother level, a whole nother stratosphere, so to speak. And the trust of that safety of having a running back has continued to be diminished because they're always throwing, and running the ball is almost like a defensive check. And when I say a defensive check, it's like, okay, just to keep you honest, we will hand the ball off. But even now, that's turned into run pass options, right? So it's not even sometimes a true run play. It's a read. And it's almost like it's no different than passing the ball because you're reading the defense if you're going to hand the ball off and you felt like it was the most comfortable thing or the best decision to do to hand the ball off in that scenario based upon the way the defense played you. So, but when you get a special guy in your backfield, I think you said it best when you said this is a case-by-case situation, and I think that's how it has to be. It has to be handled, or it should be handled if it's being handled correctly, is case by case, because some of these guys are worth their weight in gold, and they should have the opportunity to realize their, economic, financial dreams as well by getting rewarded for what it is that is what's taking place with their production. So
it's to the point to where if I was a running back coming up, I would learn to play wide receiver. That's where it feels like we're headed.
You got to think about it.
Because, first of all, the wear and tear on the body and just the devaluing, how it's looked at, just what's important. It's a passing game now. All of that stuff that goes along with it. It just feels like gone are the days where you just have a running back who can pound the football. You need
the triple wishbone option.
You don't
the
have
power
that.
eye, power eye left, power eye right.
If you can't catch the ball to the backfield, what are you? You're basically a fullback. But even like a Kyle Juszczyk, they use him in a ton of different ways. And look, Christian McCaffrey's talked about this. He's talked about, a wide receiver is viewed as this, and yet here we are as running backs, and we still feel like our value is, should be looked at the same as it did. And it's like, look, I hear you. I mean, growing up, running back was always one of the most important positions in the NFL. And yes, the game has changed, and yes, it is a pass-first league. But I can't help but think, man, it does seem like there are guys out there that you're much better off having that guy than not having that guy. And a guy like Saquon Barkley, I look at the Giants and go, man, I know you gave Daniel Jones a ton of money. I don't think Daniel Jones is the same type of quarterback without Saquon Barkley. I just don't. And I know Saquon's dealt with health issues. Same with the Raiders. Josh Jacobs, Jimmy Garoppolo, we've seen that, yes, Jimmy Garoppolo, he's won a lot of football games. But part of the reason why he was able to win a lot of football games is because of the threat of the run. And I don't know that the Raiders have that threat without Josh Jacobs.
Wouldn't you say that about Kirk Cousins too?
Yes, but I
think we're going to find out about Kirk Cousins more so than ever this year without having Dalvin Cook in that backfield.
And the other thing that to the Dalvin Cook point on this is that because he's out there, some people view that as, this kind of hurts the leverage of Saquon and Josh Jacobs. And it's like, okay, but Dalvin Cook can't play for everybody. I mean, he's going to go to one team. Miami's been discussed. Denver's been seen as a possibility, although Denver, I've seen reports that maybe they're not interested in him. It still goes back to Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs are the best options at this point for their team. And whether they get a long-term deal done, they've got time. But both of these guys are talking about maybe this would be a holdout situation. And the last time we saw a guy do that was Le'Veon Bell, and he did end up getting his contract. He just didn't get his $14 million or whatever it was.
It wasn't Ezekiel Elliott? Le'Veon Bell came after Ezekiel. I just think Ezekiel Elliott messed it up for everyone, to be honest.
Yeah, because he held out, and then the production was never the same.
He continued to hold out.
Although you look at a guy like Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry has lived up to the contract,
but he keeps getting hurt. He keeps getting hurt.
He was hurt. Year before last, he was banged up. But Derrick
Henry
Henry
seems like he keeps getting banged up. Maybe he's not missing games, but based off of it. But it just seems like he gets banged up, and he can't carry that team. We found out last year he cannot carry that team by himself. He can't do it. they need a passing game to go along with him being able to run. Maybe they got a tad bit carried away on how important the running back position is in Tennessee and let, their receivers go.
It's kind of crazy.
And didn't have that balance on the outside.
It's kind of crazy when you think about it, because the running back position, in any job force, I don't care what it is you do for a living. If somebody said, hey, so there's this one role within the company and the wear and tear is brutal, absolutely brutal. It's going to be really difficult, but you're a key cog to our success. Oh, and by the way, we're not really interested in keeping you long term. We'll just turn and burn people. Like in any work environment anywhere, people would look at that and say, well, I don't want that job. I'd like some sort of sustained success here. And
the military would say their most important people are their ground people. They send in them Rangers. Them Rangers be the first ones to hit the ground, and that's your ground unit.
And it still has a value.
It has the most value.
Right. And the running back position is
your ground attack should have the most value. In my opinion, in my estimation, it should always hold the most value because it sets the tone for everything else. Like if you remember that, and I know we're up against it, but if you remember that Super Bowl this year, what was it that they established as the Philadelphia football team? The ability to be able to move the ball, so much so where they sat there and started saying, this is illegal, somebody's going to get hurt, da-da-da. It's football. It's football. And I know they'll sit there and say, well, it needs to be made safer. It needs to be made more competitive. I think that goes to the conversation of why passing the ball has become so much of the craze, is because the rules are set in place where it's almost more like flag football anymore than it is football. It's not as brutal as it once was. And that governing has really changed in a lot of ways how the culture of the game and how the sport is looked at. It is more looked at skill and being able to put the ball in the air. And so, things change, evolution takes place. Some things you like, some things you don't like. We just lost a great Jim Brown. It's a reminder of our greatest football figure in the history of the game, some would say, was a running back. Some of our greatest historical figures connected to the game, the Gale Sears, the Eric Dickersons, the Tony Dorsetts, the Emmitt Smiths, the Barry Sanders. If you take them away from our game, what do we have? And for some strange reason, it doesn't seem to be valued that way anymore. And hopefully history repeats itself where there's just kind of a cycle and a trend. And at some point, they'll actually go back to valuing the running back again. But right now, that doesn't seem to be the case, obviously.
No, it doesn't seem like it. And it doesn't feel like Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs are going to get long-term deals done. Who knows?
Playing it safe doesn't seem to be the key or the way to go anymore. But, it is what it is, right?
Need your quarterback, need your passing yards. That's it. The 7-on-7 world we're in now. Everybody's out there with those soft helmets and 7-on-7 games.
There you go.
Yeah.
Soft helmets.